Today I want to teach you how to make a three-piece corset, and it's a beginner friendly. Here I have my bodice pattern. Waist length is 17 inches plus half inch joining allowance. Shoulder length is 7 inches. Neckline width and depth of 3 inches by 3 inches. Chest line is 8 inches. The bust measurement I'm working with is 32. I divide 32 by 4, give me 8. Bust point is 10 inches. Under bust length is 13 inches. I get my armhole on the armhole line by dividing 7 inches by, the 7 inches we have after my 1 inch shoulder slope into 2. On the midpoint, I came in by 3/4 and connect it from my shoulder slope to my horizontal bust measurements using my French curve. My bust span is 3.5 inches, which means my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. It gives me 3.5 inches. So the next thing I'm to do now is to now get on this on the bust line. I will now come to the left and to the right with a 1 inch. I come to the right with 1 inch. I come to the left with 1 inch. I do the same thing on the waistline. 1 inch, 1 inch. So the next thing we have to do is to connect this line together. Yes. Having done that, so the next thing we have to do is to get our bust points, and to achieve that we use our French curve to achieve that. If you want to use your freehand sketch to achieve this, all you need to do is that on this bust point line, you just come down with a 3/4, that is 0.75. You come up with a 0.75. So on this line, you just sketch it just this way to meet here. So that is it. So you just after sketching it out, you just connect it that way. So you see that when we are using our pattern master, it will give us the same result. You place your pattern master this way, then you connect it just like that. Yes. So you can see that it's passed through that dotted line. So you do the same thing here. So the next thing we have to consider now, before we get it up here, we want to consider our, we want to determine our upper chest line. And to achieve that, what we do is that from the bust line, we get the difference. The distance between bust point line and the under bust line. Here we are having 3 inches. From here to here we have 3 inches. So we place our tape and get the same 3 inches from here. From bust point, we measure it up and get our 3 inches as well. So we mark it. So this will serve as our upper chest line for this project. So the distance you are having from your bust point to the under bust, the same distance you will use. If you have, as we have 3 inches here now, as our distance between bust point line and the under bust line, we will get the same 3 inches up. So which means from a chest line, we come up by 1. So we do the same thing here. We come up by 1 from our chest line. We do the same thing here. I connect this. I connect from chest line to the upper chest line. This will serve as our upper chest line. So on this upper chest line now, so the next thing we have to do is that whatever we have here, we are having 2 inches here on this under bust line. We're having 2 inches inside here. So we want to repeat that same 2 inches here. But we are not, you are good to do it coming here by 1, coming here by 1. But you can as well do it by saying coming here by 3/4. You come to the, to your center front by 3/4. If you come to your center front by 3/4, So if you take 3/4 out of 2 inches, it will remain 1 1/4. So you get your 1 1/4 by this side. So in the end, you are still having your 2 inches here. So now the next thing we have to do now is to connect this to to our bust point again now. So you use your French curve as well to connect it. Here you can use your freehand skirt to achieve this as well. Yes, this is it. The next thing we have to do now is to determine the depth of our neckline. And for this project, I will be using 8 1/2 as the depth of my neckline. You can use 8 inches, you can use 8 1/2, you can use 9, but I would like to use the 8 1/2. So I mark 8 1/2 here as the depth of my neckline. So on it, I come in by 1/2 inch. I mark 1/2 inch. I connect it with a straight ruler. Then I get it here. Again, I can get it here. I can even move down to get it. No problem. So I just connect it. Just connect it this way. So this is the depth of my neckline now. So the next thing I will do is that I'll connect from here now. I connect to this. So I'm trying to build the center front bust now. I'm in cup. So I'll just place my pattern master. I will connect from here now to this end. Yeah, that's it. But there is something will still happen here now. So what will happen is that I measure what I'm having from here to this end. As I place my tape, you can place your tape this way so as to get it right. As I place my tape, I am having 3 1/2. So I now see what I'm having from here to here. I'm having 3/4 here. So which means I will extend this ferry line with 1/4 so as to have my 3 1/2 here as well. So I mark it this way. The essence of this is for us not to have a shortage of fabric when we start joining this together. After cutting this out, I want to join this and this together. So that wise, I connect this back. I connect it to this 1/4 inch that I come up with. So this is what I will now connect to this place now. So this is our new sweetheart neck now. And you know, another thing is that to build up our cup now, you mark these 3 inches that you get here, the distance between the bust point and the underbust. You get it here as well. You get your 3 inches here. We are having our 3 inches on this point. So now, as you want to connect this one now to form, the center front cup, you have to consider these 3 inches as you are placing your French curve. So you place it this way. Yeah, you can see that from here now, as I'm coming from here, my French curve is here as I'm going to this end. So you just connect from this underbust. You connect to these 3 inches. This is it. So we have been able to create the cup for the center front now. So the next thing for us is to create cup for the side. So and to achieve that, what we do is we get for this side now, because our bust, the breast is fuller by the side more than the center part. So what we do as we use 3 inches here, which is our distance between bust point and the underbust. We use that 3 inches here. For here now, we are going to consider 3.5. So we mark 3.5 on this line for the side curve. We mark it. Having done that, we from this point now, this very place, we come down by half an inch from here. We first of all get half of this from here to here. We have 1. So we first of all mark half of that 1 inch. We mark it. On it, we come down. We come down by half an inch. So this half an inch, we mark it here. We connect it. So this very line now, this one that we have come down with a half an inch, this is it. So you just connect from here. You use your French cuff to connect from here to this end. So now from here now, we connect to this end. You can see that as we place our French cuff, it's trying to hit this. Yes, this is. So we have been able to create our cup for this side as well. You can see that the side cup is bigger than the center. It's roomy than the center front cup. So at this junction now, you are able to get you have learned how to make your two-piece cup. So assuming it's two-piece cup you want to make, you are good to get your horizontal measurement and cut it out now. So this is how to draft a two-piece cup. So now we want to move on to how to draft a three-piece cup. So to achieve that, all you need to do is that on this line, you just get you just come down with 2 inches. You mark 2 inches from this end, you mark 2 inches. This is 2 inches. So on this center, you get 2.5. You mark 2, you place your tape, you mark 2.5. This is where we have 2.5. You do the same thing here. So wherever you get this, you mark it here. Then here, you get 2 inches as well. At this center, you come down by 2.5. So that 2.5, as you get it here, it is this line you still consider in getting your 2.5. So you mark your 2.5. So the next thing we have to do is to connect this with our French cuff. So what we do is that we connect it this way. Connect. Then from here, you connect to these 2 inches that you come down as well. So that's smart. So now we are able to. This is our three-piece cup now. So all we just do is that we just name this 1A, because we are after cutting, we are going to join these two up. We are going to join it together to become one. So you just mark this one, 1A, 1B, then 2, 3. So now, before we move on, let's just before we go ahead and cut out, let's take our horizontal measurement. So the bust we are working with is 32. We divide 32 by 4, give us 8. So on the bust line or chest line, you get your 8 inches. You mark it. This is 8 inches. So whatever you are having inside here, you get it. We are having like 1 inch inside here. You return it 1 inch. Then seam allowance of 2 inches. You can use 1.5 to 2 inches. It's okay. So then you get your underbust. Underbust circumference of the person we are working with is 26. You divide 26 by 4, give us 6.5. So you get that one on the underbust line. You get your 6.5. Then whatever you are having inside here, we are having 2 inches inside here. You return the 2 inches. Then you get 2 inches seam allowance. Then waist on the, you measure the waist circumference on the waistline. The waist circumference we are working with is 27. You divide it by 4, give us a 6.75. So on this line, you get your 6.75. 6.75. Then 2 inches you are having here, you return it. 2 inches. Then 2 inches seam allowance. So this is our hem allowance. You connect it to it. So the next thing is to connect it with a straight ruler. I connect the underbust circumference to the underbust measurement to the waist measurement. Just this way. Then my bust to the bust measurement, we connect it to the underbust measurement. So just like that. So the next thing is for us to cut it out. So I will just use my pattern master to connect this to this. The essence of this is for us not to just have shortage of fabric. So I just connect it this way. So this is the pattern drafting for the front bodies of our corsets. So the next thing is for me to cut it out now. Cut it out this way. You can start from this end. This is it. So the next thing I will do is that I will join this together to become one. Join this with it. Now, after joining this one here and one B together, ensure that when you are joining it, you don't let it overlap. Don't let the joining overlap. So the next thing for us now is to put it on another paper to cut it out. So you can pin it down. So this is the new pattern paper now. So this is our new pattern now. So the next thing we want to do now is for us to place it on our fabric to cut it out. A very detailed course of this 3-piece corset where you will see all the fabric cutting, sewing and ironing process, and some tips on how you can achieve very neat corsets is on our ongoing corset class. Register today. Now, this is the back pattern. This is the half length is 17 inches. Then have an inch for hem allowance. Chest line 8 inches. Bust span line 10 inches. So this is a 1/4. I measure 1/4. I measure it up and down and roll it. That is for the zipper allowance, but for this very work within, I mean for this project, we don't really need the zipper allowance for this. So I just bring this basic pattern. So the next thing we have to do now is to, let me quickly get our armhole line. You know, the bust we are working with is 32. 32 divided by 4 give us 8 inches. So I get my 8 inches here. I want to get my armhole. For the back. For the back, you get after the shoulder slope 1 inch, then you measure what you're having here, because the armhole line is 8 inches, shoulder slope 1 inch, you connect it to the neckline width. So the next thing to do is to get half of this. After the shoulder slope, we have 7 inches, half of it is 3.5. Then you come in by just like quarter. Then you use your French cuff to connect the armhole for the back. So now the next thing we have to do is to get our bust span. You know, the bust span that is nipple to nipple we are working with is 7 inches. We divide it by 2. It gives us 3.5. But for the case of the back, we are going to add half an inch seam allowance, making 4. So we get 4 inches on this bust span line. We mark it. We get it at the waistline too, 4 inches. Then we connect it. We connect it. Then we get on this line, we get our dart, half an inch to the right, half an inch to the left. Then on this bust span line, we come up by 1. Let me just extend it up. So the next thing to do is to get our horizontal measurements. I told you earlier the bust we are working with is 32. We divide it by 4, give us 8. So we've already gotten 8 on this chest line. Then we get 1.5 seam allowance. Then on the waist we are working with is 27. If we divide 27 by 4, give us 6 3/4. We get 6 3/4 here. That is 6.75. We get it here. Then 1 inch that we are having here, we return it. Then 1.5 inches as a seam allowance. Then we connect the bust to the waist. So the next thing we have to do is that on this chest line, I will just come down by 1. I mean, I'll be using either half an inch or 1. Let me just use half an inch. It's always good you come down at this your chest line to slant your back a bit, so as to differentiate the upper part, especially when you are cutting for corset. I connect it just like that. So this is our back pattern for our corset. So the next thing I will do is that on this zipper line, I will have to come in again. You know, we are not making use of our zipper allowance, but at the same time I will still come in by 1 inch because our corset is going, I mean the back of our corset is the one that we'll be having a loop at the back. So by the time you will be joining your back and front together, have it in mind that you have made away with 1 inch at the center back here. These are back cuts. So the next thing is to cut it out on our fabric. As you can see the back view, how beautiful it looks. So this is the front view. Wow, beautiful.